Moving widgets from one location to another location is easily achieved with the draggable and also the DragTarget widget. And we want to look closely at how you can drag widgets from one position to another position, and it doesn't matter to which position you drag your widget to. If you are new here, subscribe to my channel and make sure to watch this video till the end. Let's get started with a simple case first where you can drag a widget and then you can simply see here all the stages of your dragging widget. Therefore, we want to get started here with a text and a background, and therefore I have here created a text and also I have set here a color for this background. And now we want to use this method and wrap here around a draggable. And a draggable widget allows us to drag a widget around. And therefore you have here this property feedback where you can set the case that the widget is dragged around. So here, for example, I put another text inside. However, this time I put here the text of dragged inside. And this means if I now drag here around, then you see that this has here the text dragged and the origin location has this drag me. So the child property is for this initial state, and if you move your widget around, then it is here this feedback, which is then displayed in your UI. And like you notice, the text of this widget which we move here around is not correct because there are 3 yellow underlines, and how you can remove them is by simply wrapping here around your widget a material widget. And this will make sure that our text has a material ancestor and that the text is displayed correctly. And while dragging a widget, you also can display here the origin widget, and therefore you have here another widget which is called child when dragging. And here you basically can set again a text inside, and this time I call it behind. And this means if I drag here around, you see there is another widget behind, and this is what we have set with this child when dragging property. Next, we want to look here at another example where you can drag a widget to another location, and then it says here if this location was correct, or if you drag the widget to another location which is incorrect, then it says here try again. And then you need to drag this widget to the right location. Therefore, let's get started by building here this draggable widget, which is then dragged to the different locations. First of all, we want to create here a list of all the animals which we want to drag. And therefore I have created here another list where I have stored different objects, our animals, and each animal has then this land attribute, or if it is within the air like a bird. And I also have stored for each of these animals a file, our image, and this image is then stored within our assets folder, and here I have stored the different images. Also make sure that you go to your pubspec YAML file, and here you need to add this assets folder under your Flutter tag inside. And now we can display all of these animals in our draggable widget. Therefore, we create here a build origin method, and here inside we create a stack. And we create here a stack because we want to have multiple widgets under each other. And like you can see, we have like for each widget a different animal. And therefore we create here every time for each of these animals a new draggable widget. And inside of this draggable widget, we put our animal, which should be then displayed here within our widget. Therefore, we want to create right now this draggable widget together. And within this draggable widget, we get then this animal, which we want to display right now. Therefore, we go to the build method, and here we create again a draggable widget. However, this time we also put here a data type inside, and in our case, we want to drag here this object around, which is our animal. And now you can set this object, which you drag around here within your data property, and here you put then this animal inside. And this data property is later really helpful, so if you later drag here some widget to another target, our drag target, then you can simply get here this data which was dragged, and then you can differentiate if it is allowed to drag to this target or not. I will go more deeply into it later. And secondly, you also create here a feedback and a child. So the child was this initial state, and the feedback was the state when we drag our widget around. And for both cases, we simply want to display here the same image, and therefore I create this method buildImage, and here I create then this image asset, and I put here then the image URL inside of our animal, and this is then exactly this image URL which we have defined before in our list of all the animals. And now if we hot reload, you see that we have here all the animals under each other, and this is because we have set here a stack, and then we have put here all the animals inside. Next, we also want to set here the size of this image, and therefore I set here a size of 150 pixels. And secondly, you also can create here a decoration, so you set here the white background color and also you make it rounded. And this looks then like this, and you don't see the widgets under this anymore. And now if you move here your widget around, you see that we have here first of all this animal. However, under it, it is displaying the wrong animal. And therefore what we need to do is to simply add here this child when dragging. And here we put an empty container inside with a height of 150 pixels. And now if we drag our widget, you see that we have under it this widget, which is then the next animal. However, this widget is here displayed on the right side and not on the center, and this is what we want to change. Therefore, we go again to our page, and here where we had the stack, we have a property which is called alignment, and we set it to alignment center. And now if I drag this animal away, you see directly another animal which is directly under our widget here. And now we also want to drag here to another location, and this location then decides if it was correct, if it was a bird, or if it was not a bird, and then it says try again. Therefore we simply wrap here around our build origin this column, and under our origin we want to display all the targets. And now we want to create this method build targets. And first of all, we want to create only one target, and therefore I create a new method build target. Here I put then the text inside animals. So we want to create here first of all the left target where we put all the normal animals inside which are not birds. And therefore we also put here another property inside which is called accept type. So in our case we have here two types of animals. The first one are the land animals and the other one the air animals like birds. And we want to accept for this animals target only the land animals. And therefore I put here this animal type to land inside. And now we want to create this build target method, and here we get then the text and also this accept type. And here inside we create then this time a DragTarget widget. And this basically means that this is our draggable widget and this is the DragTarget widget, and the draggable widget can be dragged inside of the DragTarget widget. Therefore you create here first of all the type which this DragTarget should accept, so in our case the type of animal. And therefore it is also important that the other part, the draggable widget, which we have created here in this origin method, also has this animal type, because if both types are the same, then the DragTarget widget can accept this widget. And here inside we basically can create first of all this DragTarget widget, and therefore I simply add here a text, and we put within our text then this animals text inside. And this will be then here displayed inside of this container. And secondly, we also want to create here this background color and also make it rounded. And therefore I simply wrap here around this DragTarget this circle avatar, and this will make then our widget here rounded. And secondly, we also put here a color inside and also a bigger radius so that we can see here the whole text inside. And by default, if I try to drag this draggable widget to the DragTarget widget, then this doesn't work. So within your DragTarget widget, you have another property which is called onWillAccept. And here you get basically the data, our animal of our draggable widget. So if this is dragged to this location, then we get here exactly this animal which was dragged. And now we can decide on this data if we want to accept this widget or not. And in our case, it doesn't matter which animal is dragged to this position, and therefore we always return here true. And after that you have implemented the onWillAccept, you also need to implement the onAccept. And here inside you get then again this animal which was dragged to our DragTarget. And now we can decide based on this animal if it is allowed to go to our DragTarget. So in case it is a land animal, then it should be allowed, and in case it is an air animal, then it shouldn't be allowed. And therefore we simply check here if the animal type which was dragged to our DragTarget is the same as the accept type which we have put here inside. So in our case, we only want to accept here the land type. And if our animal is now of this land type, then we want to simply show a snack bar which says this is correct. And otherwise, if the animal is not of the accept type, then we want to display here a snack bar which says try again. And now we can drag here our animal to this location, and then it says here this is correct. However, this animal which we are dragging is still there even if we drag it multiple times, and therefore we also need to remove it. And therefore we have here within our build origin method all the different animals displayed with a draggable widget. And this all is basically here a list of all the animals, and now we need to remove the animal which was dragged to our drag target. And therefore we go again to our onAccept property. And here inside, if our widget, our animal was accepted by our drag target, then we also want to remove our animal. And therefore we access here this all property and call here this remove where. And then we simply want to remove the animal which has here this same data image URL as the animal which is within our all list. And the statement basically makes sure that the animal which we drag to our drag target is then also removed from this all list. And also if I put here another animal inside, then it is also removed. However, this time it is a bird, and therefore it is not going here inside. Instead, it is going inside of this one. And it says here try again because it is not accepted. To also accept our birds, we want to create here another drag target for all of our birds. And then you can basically drag your widget to this location. Therefore, we go to our method build targets, and here we want to wrap around our current target this row. And next to our animals target, we create then another target, which is then for our birds. And this time we want to accept here only the animal type air. And now you can try it out. So I have here this bird and I drag to the animals. This is not allowed. However, if I drag this animal to the birds, then this is allowed and this is correct. And our animal is removed from our stack. And lastly, you also can implement it as a game, so you have here a score within our add bar. And now every time if the animal was put to the right drag target, then we also want to increase here our score by 50. And secondly, if it was dragged to the wrong drag target, then we want to decrease our score by 20. And now if I drag here this animal to the right location, then we get here 50 as a score. And if I drag it to the wrong location, then we get here -20 as a score. And lastly, we want to look here at a more complex example where you can drag an animal to another location, and this will be then staying here at this location. And you also can drag from this location again to the origin location, or you can also drag it then again to another location. To achieve these 3 targets for our animals where we can drag our animals to, therefore we also need to create here this time 3 lists. So we have for each of the targets a different list, and then we always can store here the animals which are on this target. And secondly, we go to our build method, and here we create this build target method like before, and we call it this time all. And this looks then first of all like this. So we have our first target, and then we also create again a row of our targets, and therefore we simply create here the animal target and the bird target. And to make it also work, you need to put here all the animal list which we have created initially. And this list is what you put then exactly inside of this all target where we have initially all of our animals. And our build target method looks this time a little bit different. So we have here again the text like before. So we have here the text of our target. Secondly, we have then a list of all the animals which are currently displayed on our target. And therefore we put here every time different lists inside of this animals property. And these are basically then the list which we have stored here at the top. And lastly, we can put here within our build target this time an accept types inside. So this time we accept here multiple types, and therefore we have here a list. So for the birds target, we accept here only the animal air. And also for the animals target, we accept here only the animal type land. And this is exactly what we did before. However, this time we also put here this all target inside, and here we basically support all the different types of our animal type. So this all target here accepts all the different animal types which we have. So it accepts the land type and also the air type. And now we want to build here our build target method. And this looks exactly like before. So we have here all the different fields what we had before inside. And we also want to create here our builder. And therefore we go over all of these animals of our current target. And then we want to simply display here this draggable widget like what we also did before. And this will make sure that then all the animals of a specific target are displayed. And in our case, we have right now only within the first list all the animals inside, and therefore only here are all the animals inside. And secondly, we wrap here around our animals a stack, and on top of it, we want to display then this text. And this is then basically the text birds or animals or all. And now you see that we have here this text at the top. If I now drag here a widget around, this is working fine. However, if I click here anywhere on the text and try to drag it here around, this is not working. And therefore you have here this widget ignore pointer, which you wrap around your build text. And this will then ignore the pointer gestures for this text. And now if I click here anywhere on the text, then we also can drag our widget here around. And lastly, we also want to drag our widget to another position, and then it should also stick at this location. And by the way, if you want to get here this whole source code of this application, you can get it with the first link in the description, and with the second link you can get access to my Flutter courses where I teach you how you can become a more efficient and better developer. To add this functionality of dragging a widget to another location, we also want to create here within our build target method this DragTarget accept type. And this is basically what gets then here an animal, and we also want to go then here to our onAccept property. And here inside we want to basically call this onAccept method, and here inside we put then this animal inside which was dragged to this location. And with this setup, we can now go up to our widgets, to our build targets, and implement this onAccept method. So let's get started here with our first drag target, our animals. And here we only want to accept len types, and every time if we drag a new animal to this location, then we also want to include it to our list of our len types. And therefore we simply add here this animal which we have dragged to this new location to our len animal list, and this is then added here to this list. And like you can see, this is already working for all the widgets, so it is always dragged here to this location. Secondly, we also want to implement here our birds target, and therefore we go here to our birds target, and here we also implement the onAccept, and this time we want to add it here to our list of the air animals. So every time if we drag here an animal to this location, then we get here this data, and we simply add it here to our list of the air animals. And lastly, we also want to implement here this all target, and here we also implement this onAccept, and we simply put then this animal which was dragged to this all target inside of the list of all the animals. And now we can try our implementation out. So if I drag here an animal to another location, you see it is going to this other location. However, it is still then on the old location, so we also need to remove it from our old list. And therefore we create here a method which is called remove all, and here we put then the animal inside which should be removed from this list. And in our case we want to remove then from all the different lists this animal. And this is exactly the statement what we learned before to remove an animal from this list. And lastly, we need to simply call here this method remove all every time if we go here inside of our onAccept. So before we put here this animal to our new location, we want to remove our animal from all the lists which we have here at the top. And we also do the same thing for the other drag targets to remove here every time the animal before we add it again to the list. And now we can also try this example out. So I drag it to a new location, and you see that this animal is now removed from all the other locations, and after it is added here to this location. And the same also works for this animal. So I simply put it here to the birds, and it is also removed from the other locations, and at the end it is added to this location. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel here to get the latest news about Flutter, and see you soon. Bye!